What is it that made us fall in love with video games in the first place? Back then, and by that I mean some 15 to 20 years ago, something so trivial for most of us is now an inherent part of almost every youngster out there. A different form of fun, a way for us to escape. And yes, everybody needs it. Back then, it was a limited kind of escape. And competition-wise, it was all about beating that dirty AI, then gradually increasing the difficulty. It was about looking at those seemingly nice graphics, feasting your eyes with what would now be hurting them. But in a world where everything is moving insanely fast, the standards have shifted from their original values, and they have shifted quite a bit. In 2018, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if everything's nice and shiny. It doesn't matter unless you can potentially prove yourself to thousands of people you've never actually met. And apparently it doesn't matter that we've learned to be quiet about certain things. Things that today are, and in the future will continue shaping that reality. The very same reality over which we have an immense amount of power and influence. But sadly, we are sometimes simply too scared to speak up. Decide to go with the flow, with different social media being the only voice for those silent. Break it all down, and the frustration just has to come out somewhere. But did we simply learn to accept it and embrace the virtual whining as a coping mechanism and nothing more? Indeed, the standards have shifted. We shifted them. We let them shift. I got a feeling that in a couple of years, somebody's gonna divide the eras of online gaming chronologically. So in the near future, we might be referring to the late 2010s as the Battle Royale era. But should it be classified as such? It's a genre. How about the dark ages of early access, negative reflection, vanity, power abuse, and suppression of rights? I see myself as someone who appreciates hard work, and I can't help but think that, in the most literal sense of it, we are being deceived. I love aesthetically pleasing visuals, and in one form or another, I enjoy competitive gaming. But for competitive gaming to function properly, the core mechanics of a game need to work. They do need to work, right? Or is there something I'm missing? Again, I mean, I can't possibly be the only one that, every now and then, falls into that rabbit hole. Think about it, but only for a second. Cause the more I think about it, the more frustrated I get. I found a single sentence that very truthfully sums up the expectations that the majority of people have about the video game industry. Simon Cowell had a great statement about a performer last year when he said,
"A lot of anticipation, not much promise or delivery."
A lot of anticipation, not much promise or delivery. But every so often, one has to wonder, who's in the wrong here? And for the sake of any potentially biased opinion out there, get over yourself. I'm talking about a wide variety of first and third person shooters and the steps that certain studios are taking, or rather not taking, or in some cases, taking too far. The core problem, however, lies elsewhere. As objectively as possible, early access influenza is spreading too fast. And to make matters worse, even some final releases are getting backlash from different communities. Now, just for a second, stop. What is going on? For the last few years, it looks like something is slowly, silently, but steadily imploding. Content creators are gasping for air, studios are shutting down. But how long is that gonna last? It's literally like a bad dream of someone chasing you, and you just want it to stop. There are simply certain things that all of us are hoping to get out of a game, in which we have oh so generously decided to invest both our time and money in. And while the experience itself might be completely relative to the players, facts, on the other hand, cannot be disregarded. I mean, sure, we all have a specific urge and our own reasons of what we want to get out of the whole adventure and what gap we're trying to fill. But everybody's happy so long as we get the least out of it, right? Well, wrong. There's so much going on in the gaming industry right now. And then again, different setups, timelines, and art styles are funneled into one big greasy pot labeled early access. Do you know what this means? We, the consumers, we, the testers, we, and more importantly, our feedback is what those work-in-progress games are built on. They depend on it. They feed on it. And they should. But does this mean that the feedback is always positive? Does it need to be positive? Always? No. And it shouldn't be. If there's no criticism, there's no improvement. If there's no improvement, there's no working product. Constructive criticism from a huge player base is precious and should be treated as such. We're not in the Middle Ages, people. Nothing goes unnoticed. Remember the times of Arma 2 and Arma 3 Battle Royale modes? No? Too long ago? Too complicated to get into? Should I be hating on Fortnite? No. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but hell dude, they hit the jackpot. You wanna talk Fortnite for what it is? A cartoony, free-to-play, insanely hard skill-based PvP experience. Again, not my cup of tea, but Epic Games, hats off. Hats off. But you wanna know what I see here? A very professional approach. And I know for a fact that it's not the first time. You wanna know what I see here? A poorly estimated, rash, very serious, and over-the-top reaction. For those of you who are not familiar with the situation, the developers of Escape From Tarkov filed 47 copyright strikes on videos from YouTuber Eroktic, a YouTuber that has been covering the game's progress for a very long time. The same YouTuber that, by streaming Escape From Tarkov daily for hours, inspired countless other people to try the game. Now, for the sake of many arguments and counter-arguments, and of course because I can't have an immediate debate with viewers, I will leave the reasons why out. Also, there are countless other YouTubers that are currently digging deeper into the whole thing, but I will say this though. He made a video where he urged people to take further security measures regarding their Escape From Tarkov accounts to prevent potential attacks. As I said, there's plenty of other YouTubers that are currently covering this in more depth. However, I want to say something else. This, coming from the developers of a game that is supposed to be different, that is supposed to stand out, is unacceptable. It's not the end, and so far it looks like the videos are slowly coming back, therefore, the claims are being withdrawn. People make mistakes. We are only human. But how we decide to deal with them is what really counts. He could have been asked to only remove the inflammatory video. He could have even gotten a strike on just that one video. Instead, he received 47. So, dear Battlestate Games, free Eroktic. And in the words of the great Phil Anselmo, learn from this mistake. Because a mistake it is. But back to games, what about every player out there yearning for a bit more realistic and immersive experience that is not, at least in a couple of ways, broken? Take a step back, sum everything up, and take a look at whatever it is you want to see better from an unbiased standpoint. Everything is in the eye of the beholder? Well, it's not. It shouldn't be. Not in this case. Not unless you're a masochist. It's like we're given something that is 20% done, advertised as if it's more than halfway done, and a lot of us are simply gonna make the best out of it, for our own sake. And what's more, the potential of certain projects is simply stunning. Stunning, and left to rot. Those are the claws of modern gaming, sunken into the generosity of the consumer. Be it a cash grab in disguise, or an over-the-top reaction to something that could have been dealt with in a more subtle manner. Did we forget what video games are? What they used to be? What they're shaping up to be now? Or am I, in this case, missing something? Again, video games are a form of art. I try to see them that way. Notice all the little details that someone spent hours, days, even months working on. And if I, as a tester of that particular game, wanting to help was to call out an error, a factual error that, with a bit of work on the other end, has an end goal of improving the consumer's experience, should I be crucified? Should I be burned at the stake because of someone else's inability to accept and rectify the errors on their end? Is vanity so widespread in the gaming community nowadays, or is there something else at work here? Yet in some cases, those very details are no more than the pre-generated hype and half-assed attempts of getting the final product just playable enough, leaving us, the consumers, with a rather bitter aftertaste, but still convincing ourselves that it was, indeed, the right move. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is the part that most of us decide to turn a blind eye to. Business. The sad thing is that more often than not, it all comes down to a bunch of speculations, and we can't know for sure. When the stock market crashed in 1929, Franklin Roosevelt got on the television and didn't just talk about the princes of greed. He said, look, here's what happened. So, princes of gaming, what happened?